The long-awaited and deserved collapse of the Total War franchise is almost here. And let me give a quick summary for people who don't exactly know what Total War is. Total War is the blanket name and term for all the Total War games. Most well known is probably Total War Warhammer on all its iterations. You know, it's the top-down one where you're controlling big armies. But Total War also does a lot of different Total War games. Every game that has Total War in its name is a Total War game. It's Rome, ancient Egypt, all of that. So it's a bunch of games. And Total War has been running on an empty tank, pretty much like Blizzard, for years upon years upon years upon years at this point. They have been making bad games, not giving people what they want, completely nickel and diming their audience with maximum price ranges. They have been doing so many bad things. Like, the Total War fan base absolutely hates the developers on average, because they are absolute assholes most of the time. So, this is going to be fun.
Welcome back. Today it's going to be a fun one. And I say that because just before we all broke for the holidays, player numbers for Total War Shogun 2 had surged by 34%, right? It had a year of its monthly peak players being around 3,200, and then suddenly that went up to 5,200. Now you might think, oh, has Creative Assembly done some marketing, added some content? The answer is no. It's the opposite. It's a number of people, I'd say most notably Legend of Total...
And yes, Creative Assembly owns all the Total War games. Oh, look at that. Legend of Total War. This is the biggest channel for Total War stuff. And he talks about, he talks a lot about, by the way, the stuff that Total War Creative Assembly nickels and dimes people in Total War games and so on. It is absolutely a shit show.
Total War making a change in their content, one that is leading to different player patterns, one that shows that actually a lot of the players do not need Creative Assembly anymore. You see, here's the thing, right? Sometimes a whole gameplay genre ends up being essentially held by a single studio. You know, The Sims, Battlefield, Total War, kind of inseparable from those studios in the minds of audiences. Now, Creative Assembly are obviously trying to win people back. They did a whole announcement about that, a price drop with refunds for Pharaoh, amended DLC plans for Warhammer that do genuinely look quite a bit better, and as a lifelong fan of Total War games, I wish them the best. I hope it works. I don't want them to face layoffs and all of these things that could make these games so much worse, or essentially mean that they're just, you know, squeezing out the last drops of juice.
They're already squeezing out the last drops of juice. They have been doing that for a very long time, in fact.
Before the whole thing blows up. Now here's the problem. For this very long time, they've been going for short-term profit, essentially turning large DLCs into these things called Saga games, like, of course, Thrones of Britannia and Total War Attila. And then we got to the stage where we had Troy, which was spun out of Warhammer, then having Pharaoh spun out of it, and, you know, they tried to make that be the full price, like a full historical Total War game, which it obviously wouldn't. That's the kind of short-term thinking that got them into this.
Yeah. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? People hate them? Yeah, for very good reason. For very, very good reason.
Situation. And it's great that they're trying to climb their way out of it now, but what if they're actually playing the wrong game? What if the reality that is actually backed up by player numbers basically runs against their current business model? What if they're actually being killed by competition? Competition that isn't Paradox Interactive, although they certainly are competitive.
So, you know what's the funniest part about this? One of the biggest problems with the Total War franchise is very simple. It's true, they are their own worst competition, essentially. So, they can't just release games, because if they release games, new games of Total War, they are cutting into their own profits, as stupid as that sounds. Because they control almost all the Total War fan base players. So, they release new game, people go to new game, less people buy expansion for old game. It's such a stupid thing. They are literally their own worst enemy. It's crazy.
No, competition that is their past selves, their own community, and now even their ex-community. Let's dive in, and if you want to support what we're doing in this channel, check out bellular.ghost.io in that link down below. We're actually going to have a new URL soon, but that's where
Yeah, if anyone wants to hear good stories, I mean, the Total War PR disasters are actually great stories, and they're kind of niche, so a lot of people don't know about them, but they're really fun, because there have been a lot, okay? From DLCs that are literally so bad that they make your game worse, but cost a fortune. It's great. It's just great.
you can get Loading Screen, which is our daily publication for all the gaming news, as well as so much other content, and of course, sorted by 24-hour peak players. I took this...
Yeah, look at this. Yeah, everyone knows probably Warhammer the best. Three Kingdoms, Rome, Medieval, Shogun, Empire, Warhammer 2, Napoleon. Oh, Napoleon, I haven't heard that name. Attila, Rome Remastered, Rome, Total War, Warhammer. You see what I mean? There's a lot. Wait, current 1 demo. Why are people in the demo? Did they misclick?
Screenshot on Sunday morning, meaning that for EU and NA, it actually means that like Saturday night peak players are being counted. You'll notice the Three Kingdoms is really large in that screenshot. That's of course because of time zones. The Three Kingdoms is far more played over in China than it is over in the West.
Makes sense.
Note that Pharaoh is...
Three Kingdoms is literally, by the way, is a Chinese thing. But again, everyone's trying to appease the Chinese market. By the way, not because I want to clear one misunderstanding about the Chinese market that people who don't understand finances don't understand. It's not the fact that the Chinese market is actually powerful. No. China is constantly overvaluing its GDP, overvaluing how much value it produces, and overvaluing their quality of life. The only thing they don't overvalue is the amount of propaganda they are pushing into Twitter with making all of those videos where kids do something cool or whatnot, and then the West looks bad. China is literally a shithole where people live on the streets more than in goddamn America. Okay? And America's literally beyond saving at this point. But I digress. The reason everyone wants to be in the Chinese market is because it's a closed-off system where not everyone can participate in. And they don't have that many choices. The thing about China is they don't actually have many good choices. So if you come into their marketplace, there is a big chance that you are the only one that is providing a quality service in X sector of need for people, which means that considering they have how many billions they have living in China? Yeah. You can get a big chunk of those people because you're the only person that, you're the only company that they are going to use because there's no other competition. That's why everyone's super excited about the China market, because it's a closed-off economy.
Is pretty damn low on this. Now, the next thing you're looking at is the launch of Pharaoh, where Pharaoh, when it launched, was behind Rome 2. Now, Pharaoh's 24-hour peak is 698 players. That is its peak on Saturday night, close to the game's launch. Now, I've covered why Pharaoh ended up basically being a bit of a miss. It was as high effort as Creative Assembly Sophia could. It was as high effort, but it was fundamentally a bit of a reskin of Troy. It flopped, again, in spite of the developers' valiant efforts, and we don't really need to talk about that again. The pattern that I want you to notice is Rome 2 and Medieval 2. And also, that's why I actually opened today by talking about the rise of Shogun 2. And that's why we need to talk about Legend of Total War. So, a historical rally. Here you can see just a quick screenshot of the Social Blade stats for the channel. Basically just monthly video views. You can see they were flatlining for a while, but then the previous 30 days, that has actually spiked up for his channel. Now, there's an August spike that you can see all the way back in 2022. That corresponds to the launch of Immortal Empires for Warhammer 3. Makes a lot of...
Oh, well, he's making probably like 30K a month doing it. Nice.
Sense. As for this recent surge,
Minimum.
you would maybe think this recent surge is all to do with the drama. In a way it is, but no. Actually, the recent surge is a second-order effect of the drama, because the drama got him to not really make that many Warhammer 3 videos, and instead start making historical videos. Here's a big screenshot of the channel's uploads.
Oh, wow, I have not looked at his stuff for a while. I didn't even know he switched to Shogun. Huh.
You can see it is almost all historical content, right? Now, at the very bottom here, you see a video called Banned that got a load of views, right? Thing is, that was published towards the end of October, so at least in decent part, it doesn't actually count towards that very large viewership spike. And as the man himself said, what's happened on his channel is he's getting bored of Warhammer 3, obviously with Shadows of Change and all of that, and the patch being seemingly quite late, didn't feel like covering Warhammer 3 as much, so he started doing some of the historical games that he does happen to enjoy. And as he said, the historical content has started to pop off. However, let's look closer at this again. If you tally these up, you see...
Wait, what the hell is this video? Why are we looking into... Am I missing something? Why is this necessary again?
Believe 15 videos on Shogun 2, either base Shogun 2 or Fall of the Samurai. Now, Shogun 2 has actually surged in Steam. It surged, as I said at the top of the video, by 34%. And part of that, while other people have covered the game, it's mainly him in terms of view count.
Oh,
it does
that's
seem that
the
that is at
idea.
least correlating, I am sure.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, sure. Especially considering Shogun 2 didn't have a huge numbers here. Where are we? Where is Shogun 2? Yeah. So considering it's not huge numbers, yeah, if your video gets 100K views, which his kind of do there, yeah, 300, you know, a 30% increase is 600 people. Yeah, it's completely believable. I would believe it. Yeah, okay.
It's mainly him in terms of view count, and it does seem that that is at least correlating. I am sure that it's maybe growing anyway as people are checking out back catalog games because they're not happy about the current state of the franchise.
I have done these polls. The fact that more than 50% people don't even play actually Magic is wild.
But certainly the social...
Roughly 60% of people who watch my channel don't even play Magic. I'm talking about the Magic channel, not this one.
...drive from his channel will have actually played a role in this. And in a way, this is a problem for Creative Assembly. Look, more people finding Shogun 2, that's pretty great. But let's think about how CA actually make money. And then let's apply that to how people are actually playing their video games. Now, I'll do the games in order of player base. Warhammer 3, yep, that is a well-monetized game. It has loads of DLC that, of course, they are getting a lot of hot water for trying to increase...
Yeah, it's the biggest game they have, yeah.
...increase the price off. Three Kingdoms. Well, it does have DLC, and it doesn't have a tiny RRP. However...
well, if the majority of the player base are China... Just nickel and dime them, they're probably already poor.
It has no further DLC because the attachment rate of the DLC that they did in the Chinese market wasn't as high as they wished. And a source told me that the follow-up game that they were going to do instead of doing more...
Is this an actual historical guy? Is that the General Lao Bao or something like that? I remember one. Don't know anything about anything else. I could be wrong. Just a question for anyone who knows. Because it's a Total War game. Half of the generals aren't real, I'm presuming. I don't know, though. Yeah, is this the General Lao Bao or something like that? I don't remember the correct name, but because I have some kind of memory of something like this in Chinese mythology. Well, it's not mythology. He was real, I think.
Up game that they were going to do instead of doing more Three Kingdoms.
So yeah, if someone knows that, please leave in the comments because my curiosity just got piqued.
DLC, that game has been cancelled. Essentially, it seems that they got amazing sales for Three Kingdoms, but really bad DLC attachments. So they likely then thought, okay, well, we'll do another game set in and around this era instead of doing more DLC, because clearly they buy the video games, but not the DLC. It's kind of rough. Rome 2. No further DLC is being made. Medieval 2, no further DLC is being made. Shogun 2, no DLC. Empire, no more DLC. Napoleon, no more DLC. Attila, no more DLC. Now, those games all do have DLC.
Yeah. Again, they control the market. So, if they release expansions in multiple games, they're essentially just kind of making it worse for their own audience, and that's bad. So this is the reason why the DLC part seems strange, and this is why obviously only the popular games are getting DLCs.
See, many of them are actually worth picking up. Indeed, there are some great ones that Creative Assembly Sophia actually worked on, I believe, for Rome 2 Empire or Emperor Edition. But to keep on going down the list, you've got Rome Remastered. Now, that, in a way, is good for Creative Assembly. I think Rome Remastered is pretty damn great, and it sells for a higher RRP than Rome does, so that's really good for them. Below that, you've got Rome 1, which obviously has no further DLC, and then Pharaoh, Thrones, and Troy, which are basically, outside of Three Kingdoms, their three most recent historical games. Remember, this franchise was built off historical games, and currently, outside of Warhammer 3, it is historical games that are just, by the way, A, ancient, and B, still just being played a hell of a lot. Again, Pharaoh, yes, it's getting more players than Thrones and Troy, but Pharaoh has sold awfully, and if Three Kingdoms is anything to go by, they're probably not going to invest in a bunch of DLC development for it. Now remember that the Saga...
I love when the unit's just like, this is Sparta kicks you. That's great.
Games were essentially Creative Assembly's attempt to get more Total War releases. Obviously, they wanted yearly Total Wars between Warhammer, between historical, and essentially things like, say, Barbarian Invasion that maybe in the past would have just been a DLC, a large DLC, a sort of expansion. Those are kind of being nipped off and then turned into these Saga games. I believe Thrones of Britannia was largely forked from Attila.
Bruh, look at this. Look at this.
Off, and then turned into these Saga.
Look. Oh, maybe that's a Scorpion or whatever they're called, a ballista. Maybe it's a ballista?
Games.
I can't tell. But, I mean... Now, I know Game of Thrones came after this, but maybe Game of Thrones got their inspiration from this, you know? There's a cavalry charging you. Look at this, a perfectly good wall that you could man. And there's do you know what doesn't mix well? Cavalry charges against walls. Well, actually, they mix really well, if you know what I'm saying. But, bruh, look at this. So there's a perfectly good wall here, and the catapults are literally right at the front for some reason, not at the back, bro. So, someone looked at this video, and they just got inspired for the final battle when, you know, Game of Thrones was happening, you know? I love it.
I believe Thrones of Britannia was largely forked from Attila. Then I think, was it Warhammer 1 or Warhammer 2 that Troy then forked off, and I believe Pharaoh is forking off Troy, though that is off the top of my head. Still, I think you very much do understand the point there. And by the way, they've started to call Fall of the Samurai a Saga game, but that is something completely done retrospectively. What it is basically either the or one of the best expansions that company has ever made, and I will also chime in, Shogun 2 and Fall of the Samurai, those are pretty much like within my top 3, my top 2, perhaps, in the Total War franchise. You should absolutely check them out. Perhaps in the Total War franchise, my top 3, my top 2.
Yeah, this doesn't shoot that fast. So at the start they were hand cranked. You actually needed to do this, and yeah, they don't shoot that fast actually.
Perhaps in the Total War franchise.
I'm pretty sure you couldn't actually shoot them that fast, otherwise it would brick.
You should absolutely check them out because they are goddamn awesome. Now, here's the learning, right? What is this company actually doing? Right now, they're floundering about trying to make Warhammer work, but when you look at their successes, you really find out that they are, or they should be in the business of making 10,000 hour video games, near infinitely replayable ones that essentially are massive sandboxes that can be added to with more DLC, like Paradox.
But wait, that's kind of already what they're doing. I'm confused.
Have been able to do with Crusader Kings, Europa Universalis, Hearts of Iron,
Oh, please. Oh, please. Oh, please.
that can be added to with more DLC, like Paradox have been able to do with Crusader Kings.
Ah, Crusader Kings, that type of Crusader Kings. Okay. Stellaris is an exception, let's be real.
Europa Universalis.
Europa Universalis is so niche, no one plays it. I have never played it. I look at that thing and I'm like, no. Age of Wonders, have played that. Haven't played the newest one, the really, really good one. But man, Age of Wonders was lit, Go into a neutral village, slaughter their asses, then just turn the people left there, from whatever race they were, into corpse starch and replace them with my race. Do it a couple of more times, then get crushed by the maximum tier neutral units, and you have absolutely no shot against them, while you have tier 3 units. Good times, good times.
Hearts of Iron, Stellaris, City Skylines, or even, like with Electronic Arts and The Sims. Now the thing is, they have achieved this. They've achieved it with Warhammer.
The Sim... Who controls the Sims controls the universe. The Sims must always flow. The Sims is what we depend upon. You know why? Because Sims literally control all the females in the universe, okay? Women love the Sims, okay? It is unparamounted how much control the Sims exert over the female population of the world. And who controls the Sims controls the flow of the females. And that's real power. That's where the throne is at.
But in a way, they didn't really understand why. Because Total War Warhammer would have maybe been a 10-year-long video game or an 8-year-long video game if it was being done by Paradox.
I'm not gonna lie, Billiard. I can tell that you're trying to do some kind of like hefty, nifty analysis of Total War, almost a Total War retrospective or something like that. But you're kind of fucking failing massively, I'm not gonna lie. None of the information that you have told me is too meaningful. You have not gotten down to the crux of any problems that the games really face. And we literally looked at the Legend of Total War for like 4 minutes or 5 minutes, and then established that he got some copies of Shogun being sold. Is there a point to this video at this point? This is probably the weakest Bellier video we have watched in forever.
Much like how Paradox released Stellaris. Was that 2016? They released it ages ago, and they just kept on making expansion pack, just like what they did for Crusader Kings. Instead, what Creative Assembly did, well, they wanted their full-priced big box releases that were centered around these campaigns. And a perfect example here is that the true value of Warhammer 3 was like Immortal Empires. Again, why did Legend of Total War's stuff spike that much up to just shy of 8 million views a month? It was because of Immortal Empires. Because what Immortal Empires did is it transformed that into the full, ultimate, you could say, Total War Warhammer platform that merged all the factions, all the DLCs, everything that people had bought, just like what people get from, say, Crusader Kings-like experience. And while it is not in the most healthy state right now, you do just have to see it is at the top of those charts. And the hilarious thing is, so this is what I did. I added up all of the 24-hour peaks, and you can see there that the peak franchise concurrency in the last 24 hours, as of me taking my screenshot on Sunday morning, was 74,000 players. So they have...
Wait, what is 74,000 players? From what he said, I didn't even understand which game he's referring to. Is he referring to Total War? They only achieved the total... Oh, this is all the games, I guess. Yeah, I guess this is all the Total War games combined? They have a massive player base, speaking franchise, blah, blah, blah. 1/3 of playing... Okay, yeah. So this is about Warhammer. Okay.
Sunday morning was 74,000 players. So they have 74,000 peak players within a 24-hour period, and only 1/3 of those are on a well-monetized platform, Warhammer. Because yes, well, people maybe will buy a Rome 2 DLC or something like that. We all know that, number one, those aren't like costing as much. People have been able to pick them up on very deep discounts, and you know, they're not the new stuff that is better monetized like Warhammer. So imagine that you have 74,000 players playing your games, potentially even concurrently, yet only 1/3 are doing that on a game.
I don't think that's actually true. And the reason I don't think that's actually true is because if you're playing, let's say, something like Stellaris, Europa Universal, or any Total War game, that means that these are not casual games. These games have never received a massive audience because they are not casual friendly games in the slightest, in fact, even. So people who play games like this are by definition more kind of deeper in the sauce than anyone else. An average player can go play League of Legends, Dota, and not look anything up. But people who play these games on average are people who do actually look up Reddits, internets, YouTubes, and things of that nature, right? So these people are already actually monetized, to be honest, because people who start to play Total War probably quickly understand it. Wait a minute, there's more Total War games. I wonder which is the best one. Oh, I should actually look into it. And they get funneled. To the most lucrative one, which is Warhammer 40k, right? Well, actually, it's not 40k. It's just Warhammer in this case. They get funneled to Warhammer, the good monetized one. This is the thing. This is why they don't release expansions for every other game. They mainly concentrate on one, because chances are, okay, if you have made it to this video this far, if you play Total War, how many Total War games do you have? And I mean, if you actually play it, if you have like more than let's say 20 hours in the game. Okay? One game. Maybe, no, actually even total. Let's go total. If you have more than 20 hours in Total War, tell me which Total War games you have. Because chances are you do have Warhammer. Because that is the best one, that is the biggest, and people are going to tell you. Okay? If you ask people which is the best Total War game, they will say, probably en masse, it's just the Warhammer one. AKA the monetized one. So this is not that kind of an issue.
That you are actively monetizing, and the other 2/3, they may have bought that game 5 or 10 years ago, and they are still playing it, and you are earning nothing. We, of course, have learned a lot from this then. Number one, the old games have massive replayability aided by mods. Number two, players want broad, historical period sandbox games that they can play just like Crusader Kings, Europa Universalis, Hearts of Iron. That is the sort of game that they should really be modeling off, not this trying to force having loads of box releases all of the time. What they want to do is work out how to make a decade game and then continue supporting it so that they can fully...
I mean, he technically has a point about this, by the way. Technically. It's not too great of a point because there's not enough of a player base, but yeah, there are people who play games for historic games. Like, there's literally a genre, it's called the historic genre of gaming, right? So, he does kind of have a point that maybe you concentrate on, expansions for historic things, but as we saw here, again at the very start here, Well, how many of these are historic? So there's Warhammer, which is 22. Do we use the peaks? It doesn't matter, honestly. It's the same. It's the same percentile usually. So 22k Warhammer. Okay, Three Kingdoms, the Chinese version. So this one is squelched out. Then there's Rome. Okay. Then there's Medieval. Okay, that's 9. Shogun 2. Okay, let's say that's 13. Empire. Oh, actually, he did already. So Warhammer is 1/3. You see, the thing here is very simple. You have to look at this in a broader sense. All of these are medieval. These are historic games, you could say. Three Kingdoms, Rome, Shogun, Empire, Napoleon, Attila, Rome. So these are without question, right? Historic games. So if Rome gets an expansion one time a year, and no other historic game gets an expansion that means that congratulations, you know what just happened? Well, the historic version got an expansion, because if people are playing Total War games literally because they want historic, they probably own most of these, right? So you don't have to release an expansion in every single one of them. You would release an expansion in one of them, and the people who like Total War because it's historic get what they want. Anyway, I guess that's it. I'm kind of tired of this. I mean, this was not a good video in my honest opinion. Anyway, that was Billier News. I don't think this was covered all that well. The points were too slow. It is what it is out of 10. Anyway, that was Quizzer Said. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.